Welcome to Data to Decisions. In today's video, we will learn how to generate the starting and the ending dates of each month and also calculate how many days are there in each month. We will use some really simple Excel formulas to do so. For example, what you see on screen is I can change this date for a year to 2023 and it will generate how many days are in each month in 2023. And if I change it to 2024, you will see that there is a leap year and the number of days in February changes. So this is something that we can do dynamically using some really simple Excel formulas. So let's get started. So now we are starting from scratch. And the first thing we want to know is how do I calculate the starting date of each month? So we already know that the date function is available for us to input the year. So I'm going to choose date open parenthesis and I will select this specific cell which has my year, comma. Since we always start with January, let's say the first month will be 1, so I can do 1. And the starting date of the month is easier because it's always the first of the month. So I can do 1, close parenthesis, and this gives me the 1st January. This is great. But if I want to generate all the 12 months, can I do it with one formula? Yes, we can. With the recent Excel functions, it's very easy to do so. So what we have to do is to, instead of the month being 1, we want to keep switching from 1, 2, 3 until 12 and let Excel calculate 12 days representing the first of all the 12 months. So before we do that, let me just show you on here how a function called sequence works. A sequence function allows you to create a sequence of data or cells where it can be rows or columns. So in this case, we want to generate 12 dates. So 12 rows, the number of columns, because we are only going to generate 12 rows, the number of columns doesn't matter. So I'm just going to put 1, comma. You can also leave it blank and just go comma and skip that argument. Where do I want to start? I want to start with 1 and I want to increment it by 1. Okay, let's just see how it works. So clearly we can see it can easily generate a sequence of numbers from 1 to 12. Great. So remember this sequence 12, comma 1, comma 1, comma 1 will create a sequence of numbers from 1 to 12 incrementing by 1. Now I'm just going to take this formula, copy without the equals sign, go back into our starting date, and instead of the month being 1, I'm going to paste what we already learned how to generate a sequence of numbers from 1 to 12. I'm going to hit enter. That's it. So now you have a list of starting days of every month. And so I can try changing the year. Okay, great. So now we have the starting date. Now let's go into the ending date, which is a little bit more complex because the ending date of the month is not fixed. It will change if it's a leap year for February also. So let's say, for example, we want to use the same function. I'm just going to copy the whole formula and put it into here. And I know that it will generate the first of every month. But what we want is the last day of every month. So what I'm going to do is to wrap this around the end of month function, EOMONTH. EOMONTH requires only 2 arguments. So the first is where are we starting, which we already know, comma at the end. How many months should I go? So this is great because you can actually put 0. And so I'm going to put 0 to say what is the end of the current month, right? So I'm going to close parenthesis and hit enter. That's it. So now for January 1st, it's 31st January. For 1st February, it's 29th and so on. Great. And if I change the year to 23, then you will notice that February ends on 28th. So sometimes I wonder like why we have to go through all of this just because February has varying days. A lot of the formulas would become a lot simpler if we didn't have to account for this extra day in February. Anyway, keeping that aside, let's go and calculate the number of days in each month. So I'm going to use a very simple formula. I'm not going to use any functions. I'm just going to use ending date minus starting date. And here's one thing to know. So if you do this, you will get 30 days. and I can drag it along, you will see that we are missing one day. So generally, when you do a difference between days, please go ahead and add one if you want to include the starting and the ending date in your calculation. In this case, we want, and so I will add +1, and there we have it. And let's just check. We'll do a sum and close parenthesis. So it's 365 days in 2023. As we're about to enter 2024, it's 366 days, make a leap year. So this is how you can use very simple formulas to calculate the starting date and the ending date of each month and also the number of days. I found this to be very, very basic and very useful in a lot of the reporting and analysis that we do. For example, you want to calculate the average daily sales, then you need to know how many days were there in that month. So there is a lot of calculations that depend on this basic measurement, and that's why we are starting with this. So hopefully this helps to calculate the starting and ending date of any month, any year, and also the number of days in that month. If you have any suggestions or topics that you would like me to cover in a future video, please let me know. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.